I think we put in the Gamma.Con, the name of our panel and like it's free chocolate.
Yeah.
People might come a little more.
I like that idea.
Or just write free chocolate, don't bring it, and lock the doors. We're done.
Alright, so shall we get started?
Sure.
Okay, brilliant. Alright, so g'day guys, how's everyone enjoying Gamma.Con so far? Good. Yeah, having fun? That's what I like to hear. So guys, welcome to the Broadcast Gaming Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about how to basically do YouTube and Twitch and basically share your gaming experiences to an audience, give or take. So I'll let the guys introduce themselves down the line.
Hi, I'm Kirk, otherwise known as Nisk. I am a Twitch streamer. I stream a heck of a lot of Battletech stuff, big stompy robots, and generally run more community games where I try and get the audience involved and playing games with me and with the crew.
Hello, my name's Chris. I run a YouTube show called NintendoNinjaNews. I've been doing that for two and a half years. That's all based on user opinions, a little bit of gameplay footage in there, and that's my story in short.
And my name's Cameron Burgess. I am known on YouTube as Kamikaze78. I do mainly things along the lines of just funny moment videos, tips and tricks, things like that. Mainly getting to play on those Battlegrounds right now. I'm also a member of the media team at Ages 7 Australia, which is a gaming community. Ages 7 Gaming, I should say. It's a Australian-based gaming community. So yeah, it's all well and good fun. Now, effectively, guys, what we're going to be doing today is going through the creative process of creating gaming content online. We're going to be talking about how to brand your channel, how to sort of get a foothold in the online world and the gaming world, and then we're going to talk about sort of establishing a community and establishing yourself within other communities to share your content. But I guess to start things off, who here has a channel? Awesome. Who here actively posts on their channel? Very good. Okay, so for those who don't have a channel, what's stopping you? Be honest. This is all about generating a conversation. We're here to help you. So what's stopping you from having a channel, or what's sort of acting as the roadblock runner between you and sort of getting into that scene?
Fear of editing.
Fear of editing? Okay.
Stream on Twitch, you don't have to edit.
Anyone else got anything? Anything of the sort? Nothing? Cool. For those that very good. Now for those who do any sort of content or have done in the future, what do you guys want to learn? What do you guys want to take out of this? Anything at all? Is there anything you guys need to know in particular?
Ways you can keep the audience engaged.
Ways to keep the audience engaged? Okay.
That's a trick.
That's
the hard trick, especially when you're doing it for multiple hours.
The hardest part of it all, isn't it?
And how to kind of have like timely content that people actually want to watch.
So basically the art of scheduling, essentially. Okay,
Yeah.
That's always one of the more difficult parts as well.
Play only like one game, like variety.
Hey guys, welcome aboard. Feel free to
Hello.
put some chocolates in the front.
Hello.
Come down the front if you like.
Very
It's
good.
easier for you to see.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess we'll sort of move into the first stage of it, that is creating a video.
Yep.
Or starting to the creation process. So,
Handy dandy prop here.
well, yeah, so basically, guys, what we've got down the front here is an Elgato. If you'd like, we'll pass it around so you guys get to have a look at what a capture card looks like. The Elgato brand is essentially the king of capture cards right now when it comes to recording stuff off a console. You can also use it for PC gaming as well, and it's got all the hardware in the box
With
as
more
well.
cables
So
than sense.
feel free to pass it around, have a look at it, just to get an
I'll pass
idea
it
as to what the Elgatos actually
Yeah, no
look
worries.
like. Let's have a look around at it. That's awesome. Cool. See, the Elgato is essentially the hardware, so how to basically record your gameplay from a hardware perspective. But if you're recording off a PC or things like that, then there are plenty of software options as well as to how to record your gameplay. One program that is extremely effective, I find, is NVIDIA Shadowplay. Have any of you guys used that one?
Yeah, Shadowplay's cool.
It is. So Shadowplay basically, if you've got an NVIDIA card in your computer that is of a certain model number or higher, it has Shadowplay enabled. Effectively, you can it records straight off the card, so there's no impact on your frame rate at all. Nice and simple to use. It also comes with a feature called Shadow Function, which essentially means if you do something cool in your game, you're not recording, you can hit a button, the program goes back by the specified amount of time that you've set it to, and it will get that footage for you.
It's almost exactly the same as like Xbox Record That, only it actually listens.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Now, if you want to go further, if you want to sort of take the recording to the next level and start playing around with audio mixing, you can use programs like DxStory. I take you guys have also had experience with DxStory in the past as well?
A little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
DxStory is essentially, it's another screen recording program, but an added feature that it has over Shadowplay is that you can actually create individual audio channels. So say you want your microphone, your game audio, and your TeamSpeak /Skype /Discord volume to come through on separate channels in the editing software. You can achieve that through this program. Makes it very, very simple, makes it very, very easy, and it makes the editing process about 10 times easier, trust me on that one.
Yeah, you balance all your different audio levels and things. I'm sure everyone here that plays games has experienced times where like the game audio is too loud and you can't hear anyone talking, or the other way around, or
vice versa. Yeah. That's effectively what happens. It's effectively a way to fix that in the editing process, and it makes videos 10 times more watchable if you've got that power. Now, Chris, you do something a little bit different. You always focus sort of mainly on you do more of a face-to-face style of videos. So how do you end up recording that? What's your process there in the start of it all?
Basically, it's fairly simple. I either use the video record on that, or I use the Logitech little webcam, which is simple. So, and then you just sort of record that, and you use something like, I use Windows Movie Maker because my editing process is not as involved as others. So if I'm doing game capture stuff on the run, like here, my camera has two lenses and two cameras. So there's a big screen that's showing off the gameplay footage, and there's a little tiny one on the flip out, which shows the LCD screen that shows my face. So I can kind of do game footage stuff on the run. It's obviously not as professional as this sort of thing, but when you're at PAX or some convention or at a friend's place, it's a sort of setup that works quite well.
It sounds really portable.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
That's what I wanted, something mobile and portable, something that you can go bang, you can get it done.
When it comes to, I was just saying, when it comes to audio quality, because I know like your videos are quite clear as far as audio. Do you use a third-party microphone and sync it up, or do you just go from the webcam or from the video recorder?
I do use a microphone.
Okay.
The brand name I've not quite on my lips at the moment.
Yeah,
but
right.
it is a very good microphone. And that,
Okay.
So it's a USB based hardware.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Nisk over here primarily, as you said earlier, focuses on Twitch streaming, which is a whole other sort of avenue to go down. So what we've got here is a few slides discussing OBS, which is the, what I understand, the primary software for doing your Twitch stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to take us through your process, mate, because it's a very different style.
Yep,
Feel
sure
free
thing.
for it, yeah.
So the two packages that you'd probably be using for streaming something like Twitch would be either OBS or XSplit. OBS is the free one, so that's what I go for. So first thing that's first that you have to do, you create your channel. In your settings, you can go and grab your broadcaster key, which you plug in there in the screen that we've got there. Yeah,
Stream key, yep.
stream key, so that you can actually authenticate to Twitch and broadcast and get yourself online. It's probably a good idea to choose the server that's closest to you, but occasionally those will fall over and you'll have to pick another one. So for us here in Australia, the next closest one would be something like Singapore. So in terms of input settings, so it's a bit hard to see from this angle, but we've got a few things in there. The setup like bitrate, which is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
There are a few tools that you can find online to figure out what bitrate you should be streaming at based on what sort of resolution you're at. If you're not a Twitch partner, the maximum that you can stream at is 3,500, which is pretty smooth for like 720p. But aside from that, you might not be able to get 1080p going smoothly at 60 frames a second. And really what you want for people is they come in, they can see something, it looks fairly good, and it's not going to stutter or stop or buffer. That's when people will drop off and leave.
Yeah.
And then you can also record content straight to your hard drive as well. If you're a YouTuber in particular, this is awesome because you can go in, you can set up all of your different scenes in OBS with hotkeys to switch between them. So you might have like a splash screen at the start of your video, then you'd have a screen with like your face on it and a camera and the game and whatever else is going on, and then an outro screen as well, and do all of that through one interface, and then record it out with a I've got a fairly high bit rate there of 10,000 at the moment. Yeah. Which means then you don't really have to necessarily go to editing software at the end of the day if you want to do things more quickly and pump things out quicker, or just do tests of what your video is going to look like if you're going to stream to Twitch instead.
I think something that's incredibly important when it comes to like recording and Twitch streaming in general is you want to set like your recording as high as quality as you possibly can, because especially when it comes to like the compression that you can find on YouTube, or even the compression that editing softwares put your videos through, the higher you export things and the higher you record things at, the less grainy the footage is going to look at the end of the day. Yeah. I know, for example, like there have been plenty of times where I've decided, I'll record this in a low bitrate just to save my hard drive a bit of mileage.
Yep. And then YouTube compresses it again.
And next minute YouTube compresses it, the footage looks terrible. So it's all about rendering and recording as a high bitrate as you possibly can, just so you can secure the quality that you can as well.
Even if you can like grab an external hard drive or something, that's usually what I record off to with USB 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So basically, then you've got the overlay. I reckon this is probably the most powerful part of OBS, right?
This is the coolest bit. So the first panel on the left is all the different scenes. So that's what I was talking about, being able to have like a splash screen and you just on the camera, which a lot of Twitch streamers do. So you can just address the audience directly. The gameplay screen, which is what I've got up at the moment. I've just got my desktop background in there. And then in each of those, you have all of those different like plugins that you can start adding into it, which are things like where your camera goes. I've got a little social media ticker down there as well, which is being run off a web browser and similar, and they all just snap into place. It's super easy to just throw things into that space and play with them and get them right. And the coolest part about it is you can even start dragging them around while you're broadcasting.
Which I'm guessing like makes, I guess that's also a really powerful opportunity to push the branding of your channel, which we'll talk about a bit later on as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So we've reached sort of the part about how to film it, but you've also, whenever you go into making a video, I think whenever you go to either start streaming or start recording, you need to know what your agenda is. You need to know what you're aiming to accomplish from this recording session. Even if you're just recording stuff for the background gameplay of a video, for example, knowing what you're aiming to record sort of lets you focus a little bit, because it's quite easy to get sidetracked in games, especially.
Oh yeah, especially if you're playing something long and big like your Skyrims and similar.
Exactly.
You go, I'm going to do this, and then hey, shiny thing.
Like I know, like for example, if I'm going to record a weapon review in a game, I know that I need to put myself in situations that complement what I'm trying to say about this weapon. Say it's a long range weapon, I need to put myself in long range engagements to sort of focus on that aspect of it and get my point across, because the whole idea of creating content, gaming content on YouTube, is that people want things visually explained to them. So if you've got the footage complementing what you're actually trying to say, it makes for a much more powerful sort of outlook. And I can imagine it's the same with you, Chris. Like whenever you go to record something, you always want to sit, like say you're doing one of your news tidbits, you always want to sit down and sort of plan out how professional you want it to be, or if it's a more casual video, you set it for a more casual environment, things like that.
Yes, that's true. Sort of setting up and sort of knowing what you're talking about and things like that. Sometimes you have a certain amount of time, sometimes you're very pressed for time, especially when E3 is happening, on an event like that, so you've got to keep the ball rolling. So it's sort of depending on your time limits and what you like to achieve.
And I can imagine if you're going for a stream, for example, like if you want to set up for a more casual stream, it'll be, you'll go into a game not trying to, pull off the next, Kenny S style of flicks or anything like that. But if you're going to play a bit more hardcore, you'd go in there.
Yeah, you go in there with a particular focus. Playing like MechWarrior in particular, we have a comp team, and so we'll go in for comp nights, and we'll just focus really hard on being the best there and winning, over necessarily just being entertaining. But other than that, it's, hey, cool, let's see how many missiles I can fit in this thing, and see if it still walks.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, guys, whenever you go to record something, have an agenda of some kind. I know that sounds really, really serious, but it'll make the recording process more fun for you, and it will make it more productive, because there's nothing quite like going into a gaming session to record something and then not knowing what you're recording. Something else that I find to be extremely painful sometimes is, finishing a recording session thinking you've got enough gameplay, get to the editing stage, and you realise, bugger, I don't have everything I need. I've got to go back into the game, get back into the zone of what I'm trying to do. Creates a bit of a hassle. It disrupts the workflow. Always get more footage than what you think you'll need, because you'll always run into corrupt files. You always run into editing mishaps here and there that can destroy footage. So have more than you can get your hands on. It's the best way to go about it. Which I think segues us nicely into editing, everyone's favourite part.
The joy. Yep.
So editing is the one thing that scares people off the most, mainly because you can get video timelines that, when they're finished, look like this.
That's really neat.
That right there is the video I uploaded last night.
Oh yeah.
You can have some projects that look absolutely monstrous, like they look like absolute monstrosities. But by the same token, you can also have videos that look very, very simple, and they get the job done as well. It mainly comes down to the agenda of the video and what you're trying to accomplish, I think. Like one of my most successful videos was a rant video where I was ranting about the Battlefront Season Pass. That had 2 tracks in it. It had my audio and my visual, and that was it. This one here is a funny moments video. It's got text elements galore, it's got music, it's got sound effects, everything of the sort. Hence why there's 16 different tracks in there, all working together to create the final project. So when it comes to editing, it's the most powerful part of creating something, because you're essentially creating the pace of the video. Like, you decide what's going to be shown, what is going to be emphasized, things like that. Chris, I can imagine, like, whenever you're doing something, I know you don't cut a lot of your stuff, but if you want to create a certain pace in your video, you might edit it a certain way, give or take?
Yeah, you sort of chip and change a little way. If I needed to make it a little quicker, that's something that I would do. If I want to sort of slow it, I would sort of maybe add different scenes here and there.
Yeah.
Sort of breaking it up and that.
Exactly
So
right.
that will be the way.
Yeah, you end up being like the director, the editor, the actor, the sound guy. It's like
sort of
creating
one-
a film with
one
one
person
person.
band.
With YouTube or content creation in general, you literally take an entire film set and condense it into one person. You do everything, which is, it can be daunting at first, but in all honesty, editing should be the most fun part of the video, because it's the part when you can experiment the most.
Yeah.
I find, like, it's the part when you can really try something new, and you could sort of play around with things and create something that's truly special. And I know with streaming this, you don't have the power of editing, but it presents a unique challenge in a certain sense.
Yeah, I think really the power of streaming is that you get to talk to people straight away. You get to engage with people immediately, and they get to talk to you as you're doing things. Which sort of, it makes it for a lot of the things that you miss out on, being able to sit down and actually edit something from start to finish. But still, it means that you also can't edit out the things that go horribly wrong. So you have to think about, like, what am I going to do with these? How am I going to get around these? Like, how am I going to get around the silent periods? In particular, is a big one for streamers to try and deal with. And so really, like, a couple of the best pieces of advice that I've ever got for that sort of thing is, one is always stream like you've got thousands of people watching. Just keep talking. Doesn't matter, even if you're just going through the process of what's going through your brain, you can get around a lot of that silent problem. And then when you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Steer straight into the skid. Like, if something's going to crash horribly and go horribly wrong, like you're playing a competitive game and you're about to get wrecked, go, you know what, stuff it, I'm going to do something absolutely crazy, I'm going to steer into this, and I'm going to own this mistake and make it hilarious. Like, one of my friends who used to play Counter-Strike used to have a habit. Every time he knew he was stuck in a corner and he was going to get wrecked by the other team, he'd flick his mouse so he's looking straight up and would throw a grenade and wait for someone to teabag.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the sort of the two different agendas when it comes to, you know, the editing stage, if you will, the filtering stage. You know, with video you can edit out mistakes, you can, you know, make those cover-ups. But on streaming, it's all about sort of owning those mistakes and going with the flow. It's a lot more freeform, isn't it? Yeah,
and having fun with it. That's the most important part. Is if you're enjoying it, the people that are coming along, they're chatting with you, they're going to enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, very, very good point. Cool. So I guess we should probably move on to the next section, more about channel branding, because it's channel branding is one of the more important parts of any of running any channel. At the end of the day, channel branding is all about the brand of a channel is basically your hello to a new viewer. It's how you basically say, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I look like on the face of the internet. Because a video thumbnail is often a viewer's first impression of you. It's the first thing they're going to see. And in a thumbnail, the best piece of advice I ever got was that in a thumbnail, a person should be able to tell who the video is from and what it is about before they even look at the author or the title. They should be able to determine all of that from the get-go. So having a consistent style between your thumbnails, your channel art and your channel logo ensures that people recognize your content easily. Like, this is, like, for example, here, all of these thumbnails look very, very different. They all have their each individual style, they each convey a different topic of video, but they have the same format, they have the same layout, and they have the same text elements. They have the same font, the text is the same color every time, the game logo is in the top right hand corner, and my channel icon, if you will, is in the bottom left. Those sort of consistencies ensure that people understand that it is you that they're about to watch. It gives you that identity, that brand. And I feel as though, like, for you guys there, that's also something fairly important as well. Like, Chris, like, how do you go about approaching thumbnails? What's your sort of...
I do have one of the advantages where I do get PR emails from Nintendo, and then they just sort of have these nice little pictures, and then I go, well, that's great, I can use some of them. So you just... Sometimes I do a little bit of editing in the thumbnails and that, but I generally look for something that really just sort of matches what I'm talking about. And something sort of bright, something that sort of attracts people, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah.
I also think that an important thing is putting in the title. It's very important.
Yeah.
Getting the title right. Some of the videos that do well is something like patch updates.
Yes,
things like that.
They do very well.
I notice that if you just put the title, hey, it's a Smash Brothers patch update, you might not do so well. But if you put the number patch, 2.4 patch,
especially in the thumbnail,
more specific type thing, that does help out.
So calls to action in your thumbnail as well. Like, sometimes, like, I see people try to fit, like, they can have a very long title for their video, and they try to fit the entire title in the thumbnail. Whereas realistically, for a thumbnail, all you need to do is create it so that it just catches the audience's attention, and all you've got to do is have patch update, then the date. You don't have to have all the features that are in it. Like, either. Like, it's all about creating, I don't want to say clickbaity, but at the same time I do want to say clickbaity. Almost clickbaity thumbnail that sort of encourages people to say, hey, this looks cool, I'm going to give it a watch. I know with streaming, once again, it's a very, very different challenge because your branding sort of exists in the content itself.
Yeah. I was actually musing over this since we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, oh man, thumbnails, it's a massive thing with YouTube as that sort of first point where people see your video and want to get on board. And I realized, actually, I'm already doing something very similar to that, which a lot of other Twitch streamers do as well. We sort of live or die by social media presence, and a lot of that comes down to things like Twitter. And so you can actually use all of the same sort of thing here when you're doing your Twitter post, because if you think about it, when you post up, hey, I'm going to be live, here's my channel, if that's just a text post, someone's going to scroll past it. They're not going to see what's actually going on there. If you have this clear sort of consistent branding, an idea of what they're going to come in for, and an idea of what they're going to see, then your post is, A, it looks bigger, so it takes up more of the screen, someone's going to notice it. That's a really quick, easy trick. And then also it's attractive because they stop on it and they go, hey, like, I'm going to learn how to do movement playing Tracer in Overwatch. Cool, let's get on and see somebody play Tracer.
Yeah,
you can leverage exactly the same thing.
Exactly right. And as you mentioned earlier, when it comes to social media, it's very important to have a consistent brand across all of your platforms as well.
Oh yeah,
because that again is it's a way that people can say, hey, this looks familiar. Oh, it's that guy I saw on YouTube every once in a while. Or people can easily find your social media accounts because they recognize your branding. The same thing applies to when you're doing graphics in videos where you've got an intro and an outro. Having similar brands or having similar visual styles in all of those elements of your videos really helps to sort of solidify that this is your content, and it makes you more identifiable. Because the whole idea of branding, it always gets people very concerned, like, how do I create a brand? It really to me comes down to 3 simple elements, maybe even 2. It comes down to primarily fonts, text placement, and color. If you can find a font design and a couple of colors that work well together, and then format them in a certain way, you've got yourself a brand. And it's just a matter of applying that design to all of your other things in the future. Yeah, that's certainly something I find. Yeah, personally, it's a huge advantage to have. And then you can even apply that to things like business cards. If you guys want to come have a look at the business cards we've got on show, it's a way of how you can identify branding and things like that. So feel free to come have a look for sure. And it's also extremely important because in the world dominated by billions of people using YouTube, there's millions of people doing the same thing on YouTube, especially with gaming. There are millions of Let's Plays out there of the same game, especially popular ones. So having a brand makes you stand out among the mess. Oh yeah. Definitely helps. Yeah, it's how do you pick who you're going to click on next? Exactly. When you see the stream of thumbnails come up on the right-hand side after you finish watching a video, what do you watch next? Yeah. That said, though, when it comes to creating a brand, I think the worst thing you could do is also copy-paste. It's one thing to have something to go by, it's another thing to copy-paste the same thing over and over again. Like, you need to make each and every one of your thumbnails or each and every one of your... they need to stand out. Brand pictures, very, very identifiable. They stand out on their own, and they're not going to, people aren't going to say, oh, this is the same thing as I saw last week. Yeah. It's all about, creating this idea of freshness. So always have fun with your thumbnails and with your branding. Like, I know there are some videos that I can spend about half an hour working on sometimes, just a quick little video, but I'll easily spend about an hour and a half working on the thumbnail, just playing with what works and, using different layer styles and figuring something out. Do you guys see yourself doing that a little bit every once in a while, or...? Yeah, especially when I'm trying to figure out doing something new, and I've got to start from scratch again, because I imagine you've got similar to what I've got, which is a template in Photoshop or something like that. Yeah, but when you start to do something new and you think about how you're going to brand something for the first time, you can spend hours working on, does everything fit right, does everything look right? Yeah, yeah, for sure. Very good. So, we should probably move on to look at our final section before we'll start taking some questions. That being community and industry engagement. So, the one thing that separates sort of a content. Sorry, how do I put this? The one thing that separates a video poster from a content creator is their engagement with the community. So I can't stress this enough, responding to every single, especially when you're starting out on YouTube,
when it's a reasonable demand.
Exactly right. Yes.
Because obviously, once you're looking at the thousands, it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, responding to every single comment becomes tedious if you're going to do that. If you're going to do that when you've got thousands of people commenting, then you need a manager essentially.
It's time to start paying someone to do it.
Yeah. But when you're starting out, responding to every single comment is a huge benefactor, I found. And even as you start getting, comments in the hundreds, at least responding to at least 20, 10, 30, depending on how kind you're feeling on the day without biting.
Percentage of them, so that you feel like they have a chance of being responded.
Exactly right. Depending on how kind you're feeling on the day, respond to at least some comments. Show that you're interacting with the community, because the last thing people want in YouTube nowadays is just someone who sits behind the camera and talks at them. You want to generate sort of a vibe, I feel, where you're not talking at them, you're talking with them.
Yeah, having a conversation.
Exactly.
Yep.
And with YouTube especially, it's perceived as being a one too many platform. You broadcast too many people at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But all you've got to do is respond to a few comments and you turn it into a many-to-many conversation. But I know with Twitch, that's a very different story.
Yeah, Twitch, this is where the one-to-one thing with Twitch is really cool, because you have a chat that you're seeing live, so you get to respond to everybody straight away. Or if you've got a delay on your broadcast, a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And it's really important in that space in particular. If someone comments on a YouTube video, you've got a couple of hours before they've probably lost interest. But with Twitch, if you're not talking and reacting to people as they're talking and reacting to you, they'll tune out really quickly.
Exactly right. And I know, Chris, you are particularly really good with responding to your community. I've seen you.
Yeah.
I know it's something you hold quite dear to your channel, if you will.
Yeah, I do have a few good little supporters and fans in that. I think it's good to sort of rope in this first, 10 or 20 or 30 who watch you every day and that. I've done some live broadcasts and that, and sometimes it's a little hard to concentrate on the game and keeping to the audience.
Yeah.
And also to probably keeping the language good to clean in some broadcasts and things like that.
Like that depends on I think that entirely depends on the audience you're going for. Because I know, look, I can be quite a bit of a potty mouth on my videos, and I'll crack an odd swear word here or there in the comment section as well. But I think if it depends on the audience you're going for, like I can imagine with Nintendo, it's a very family-friendly demographic you're going for. So I can see why you would focus.
Sadly,
on that.
it does lose the family-friendly thing after being hit by the third blue shell. So
yeah,
but it's always that sort of challenge and that. But what was the main question again?
we were mainly talking about how you were so good with your community.
Yeah, so I talk to them on Facebook, I talk to them on Twitter, I go on a platform called YouNow, which is like a live broadcasting thing. So, one of my fans is called Ray, and I go, hey Ray, how you going? What's your weekend going? And things like that. You sort of ask them questions about their own lives and what the games they're playing and things like that.
Sort of keep it very, very casual, if you will.
Yeah, it's sort of building up friendships and things
for sure.
like that.
Yeah, that actually hits on a really good nail too. One thing that's really important to do that a lot of people don't sort of see or think about when they start, and I definitely made this mistake, is go out, find people, talk to people. You want to really be engaged in the community for the games that you're playing, that you're going to be broadcasting.
Yeah.
And you really want to be going out and meeting people and making friends, because those are the sorts of people that will not only come and spend that time with you and enjoy playing games with you and seeing what you've got to show, but you will find people who will go out completely of their own accord and say hey, there's new stuff up from this guy, you should really go and watch, you should really come in and be part of this is fun, this is awesome. And that's a really powerful thing for the community.
Exactly right. And I think it sort of starts urging on the point of creating environments for your community to interact.
Yeah.
I think the most popular one I've seen so far used by many is Discord.
Yep.
I see a lot of YouTubers these days creating their own Discord rooms, and for those of you who don't know what Discord is, it's essentially Skype, TeamSpeak, and a message board all linked together.
Pretty much, yeah.
You can create basically a place for your subscribers to come together and communicate with each other outside of the YouTube comment section, and it keeps things really, really fluid. It allows you to build a closer level with your subscribers, and basically makes for a more vibrant community. It instead, once again, turns this one-to-many platform that is YouTube and allows all your subscribers to come together, talk, build friendships within the community, which generates a more healthy debate anyway, like in most videos.
It breaks down those walls, and you no longer end up feeling like unassailable or unapproachable.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It makes you seem more or less like this person on a pedestal, and you just become another gamer that happens to be releasing stuff on YouTube. Yeah. That's the one thing you always want to sort of get across whenever you're on YouTube and doing content. Never put yourself in a position where you are above everyone else. You just happen to be a gamer putting stuff on a platform. You're not this, high and mighty thing. You are literally just a gamer who happens to upload to YouTube and people happen to watch you. Like, that's always sort of the agenda and sort of the style that you should be sending through your videos. At least that's what I feel. Like, you should always just be a mate, really.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. Even when I do my sort of opinion stuff, which is, the times where I do, talk for 10 minutes long and that, things like that. I talk about more relatable things, about costs of games and hardware and things like that. I talked about criticisms about the Switch's launch, the video game console, saying that the console is cheap, all the accessories are quite expensive, and talking about people, who can't fork out hundreds of dollars. So it's a way to relating to the everyday gamer. Especially, my audience can be as young as 12 or 13. They don't have a full-time job and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
So, yes.
Yeah. And I feel as though something else we should probably talk about is breaking the ice with game developers and getting your foot in the industry, because that's something that's become quite prevalent on YouTube, sort of this whole idea of creating, i.e. sponsored content, which, can be a can of worms in its own, but at the end of the day, one of the, the big dreams of, having a big successful channel is that people send you stuff to free to review. Like, we all love the idea of getting free games and free hardware to review it on our channels. And I think one of, the most effective yet simple way to get your foot in the door with game developers is go to conventions like PAX, like E3, if you can ever get yourself over there, and just literally walk up to a game developer booth and say, hey, I'm a content creator, hand them a business card, get them talking, make yourself memorable, and then see what happens. The worst they can say is say no. And if they say no, go back next year, try again. Because at the end of the day, games developers will have thousands of people at these cons going to them asking for opportunities. If you can make yourself memorable and start off on a good foot, you might get that email that you've been wanting. So I think, finding a way to get your foot through the door is also a very effective strategy.
Yeah, and it comes down to go and talk to people.
Yeah.
Same deal. You as a content creator, they're going to feel like, how can I go and communicate with these people? They feel like they're up on a pedestal, but they're on exactly the same spot on the other side of the line. So if you go and talk to them, half the time you're going to make friends, you're going to build a relationship, and you're going to find out that you both got things in common, and then start working together towards something better. You'd be really surprised how many people from the indie community in particular, when I was walking around PAX last year, were saying, here's a promo code.
Yeah.
Sure,
exactly
go and promote this. That's awesome. Someone's interested in the game.
Exactly right. Indie devs are a really good starting point, because they just want their games out there on the internet. They don't care how many people are watching, they just want videos out there of that people might see their
Something
games.
to come up when people search for it.
Exactly right. They want...
So it's not when they search it, it's not just maybe their Steam page and maybe something similarly named.
Exactly. They want
something to show it exists as well.
They want an avenue of approach. And the best part about starting out with indie devs is that once you start doing indie dev videos, then you create a sense of competition around your channel. All of these AAA guys will say, oh, this person's doing really, really awesome content for these indie devs. We could also take advantage of this. It creates a sense of both competition, but your channel basically becomes your channel basically becomes something along the lines of paid TV, along the forms of advertisement. Big AAA developers want to get in on that space. They want to get in on that avenue.
Ensuring that YouTube
Exactly right. So they want that exposure, therefore they're going to start asking you questions. So getting into that indie scene, I think, is a really good starting point.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't stress the importance enough of business cards to sort of break that ice and get through the door. So creating yourself a nice business card, getting some printed off, is the most streamlined yet effective way to really get stuff done, I find. Yeah, have you guys got anything else to add on top of that? Any other tidbits here and there?
Just sort of coming back around to the indie developers thing again. The other thing, if you're wanting to end up doing things with promo codes for like AAA games, is starting with indie studios and proving yourself there. It takes away that sort of like risk and unknown quantity. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hit a nail on the head. Which means that then they can look at you and go, okay, you're established, you're proven, you're someone that we can trust with this. And that will help you down the line.
Not just here to get something for free.
Exactly. You're
Yeah,
here
sure.
to get something for free and then run off with the code and then go enjoy the game without doing a single piece of video for it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's all about capitalizing on opportunities, I think, that you're dealt with. Even if it's an indie game that you don't look like you're not really keen on. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that, because you should always focus on creating
At least be
content.
something playable.
Something that isn't a broken mess on launch. There's a few games that come to mind, but I won't mention them because I don't want to have a lawsuit on my doorstep tomorrow morning. But yeah, I think that's all really, really good points, and I think
No need to invite lawsuits. Cough, Jim Sterling, cough.
Yeah, I don't know how he manages that, honestly.
It's pretty easy to imagine when you know the type.
look, we're just not going to talk about No Man's Sky, right?
No Man's Game.
No Man's Lie. Fantastic. Okay, so I guess we'll move into questions now.
Yeah, let's
sort
do
of
it. Let's go.
focus on taking any questions from you guys. Anything that you want to know, we're here to answer them. So, any questions, anyone? Yes.
More for Twitch Twitch, but
Yep.
if you want to be playing like one or two games mostly, or mainly as you're at the start of the channel.
It's a really good one, actually.
It doesn't
Ooh.
matter what kind of games they are.
That is a really interesting one. As I started off as a variety streamer with a friend of mine and then moved on to playing one game primarily.
Okay.
I think when you're small, shop around a little bit, play a few different things, and find something that you really like. And then once you find something that you really like, focus on it for a while and see what kind of community is there and build something around it. Because if you keep jumping from thing to thing, you're going to be picking up a couple of people that will come in for the game and maybe one person that will come in for you. Whereas if you stick with something for a while and you start to build an audience and a community around that, the more people that are sitting in your channel watching, the higher up for that game that you appear in the browser, and so more people will go, oh hey, look, there's a channel with 10 people here. I'll click on that instead of the channel next to it that has 4 people. So that person's more interesting.
Yeah.
Twitch kind of leans towards people showing up for specific games.
Yep. I was really surprised by that actually when my buddy Nick and I were streaming all of the old Warhammer Dawn of War games. We were picking up people who had come in that were amazingly surprised that somebody was playing Warhammer games and were super psyched because that's what they were on Twitch for specifically, was to find people playing Warhammer.
And I feel as though, again, sort of going back towards the community side of things, if you find a game, establish yourself in it, you can often get people who come for the game but stay for the creator.
Yep.
It's always good. It's a good opportunity to sort of solidify your personality with that person and get them to like you. So
Build an existing
Does
audience.
the size of the community matter as well for games?
that's always a tough one, isn't it?
It helps.
I think it does.
Does help.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is have a look through the browse page and see what's up there, and then sort of ignore the first 2 or 3 rows because that's saturated territory. You're going to be competing with some really big streamers, or you're going to be competing with so many people playing the same thing. Which is why, for instance, I hadn't until recently started considering things like Minecraft, which I have a lot of fun with, but have too many people in that space broadcasting.
The catch-22 you always face, just on that, the catch-22 that you always face when it comes to starting out as a channel is you want to cover the big games because there's a lot of people playing them and there's a lot of opportunity to grow. But because there's so many people playing that game, there's going to be a lot of people covering it as well.
Oh yeah.
So it's a sort of a catch-22. Do you find yourself playing, and the best thing to do, I find, is find a niche game that you enjoy, start with that, try and get in early so you're one of the first people creating content for it. If it doesn't explode, That's okay, you might pick up a few people here and there from it.
Yeah.
If it does, then hey, you're one of the first people that was in there creating reliable quality content for it, and thus you become quite easily one of the more searched people for that channel. Yeah, anyway, you had a question as well, mate?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you kind of answered a bit of it, but like some of the first steps you should take as a small channel, like my channel has about 25 subscribers.
Yep.
Like, I've only started recently, but yeah, what are
That's
some
awesome.
of the first steps you should take?
So first steps you should take, focus on creating quality content, quality over quantity all the time. Always, never ever launch a video and at the start of that video apologize to your viewers for the crappy audio or visual. Like that's something you can fix up before you publish it. The only reason you don't fix it is because you just want to get it out there. Quality over quantity every time. Always focus on giving people something good to watch every time, because the hard part about YouTube is that every time someone clicks off a video and says they're not going to come back, they really mean that. If you lose someone within the first 10 seconds of your video, chances are they're never going to come back to your channel. By some stretch of the miracle, they will, but they will have this, tainted impression of you from the very get-go. Create a great first impression and go from there. So every video you launch as a new channel, make it everything you can do, and just make it the best you can possibly do. Any other questions of the sort, guys? Anything else? Yes?
Any recommendations for creation fatigue? Like when you're yelling out into the silence for too long and no one's responding.
So, like, yeah.
Nothing to say.
Oh, like on Twitch, you've got like nothing, like no.
I've dealt with YouTube mostly, but yeah.
So like you're creating content, but no one's coming along, if you will.
Yeah, some people show up, no one comments, no one says anything.
Yeah,
it's all
okay.
silence forever.
Yeah, no, fair. Best thing I would do personally is find yourself a forum or a community online, whether it be a subreddit, something like that, and sort of try and mesh your way into that community, and then from there, like once you embed yourself in that community, start sharing your content. Like share the content later, because if you just start self-promoting from the get-go, people are
It's
going
written off immediately.
exactly right. People will ban you from the forums. You'll have pitchforks at your door every day. But if you embed yourself in the community, then start sharing your content. Say, hey guys, by the way, I'm doing this on this channel. Feel free to come up by and say hello. You might start seeing a bit more engagement. Yeah.
Similarly, with broadcasting, if you end up stuck for ages with no one coming into the channel, invite your friends around to play games with you.
Yeah.
You got to find ways to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, whether it's preparing pre-prepared content or getting on and playing games for an audience live, then you're going to eventually find that you want to do other things.
Exactly
You
right.
run out of energy.
Yeah, find people that are like-minded and they're interested in the same sort of things, and just start working with each other and getting to know each other and building off each other. It's super important early on.
Like, for example, I joined the Ages 7 gaming community back in when was it? Like 2014, something like that. No, like 2012, like 5 years ago. The guys there didn't know I made content until like 2 years later. And because I never just shared it, I just made myself a member of the community. We were friends, and then they started seeing the content. They're like, "Oh, how long have you been doing this? And why haven't we known about it?"
Yeah.
And then and here we are now. We've got an established media team with myself and Kirk on board.
Yep.
So like it's a matter of again embedding yourself in a community and going from there. So that's something I'd recommend doing for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? Anything of the sort? Got 10 minutes left on the panel, so. We've gone through this a bit faster than we thought.
Yeah, we've sped right through it.
We did, didn't we?
Yep.
Do you have a question, mate?
So with also with the video bit rate and stuff, is it important to like get a mixture resolution, or is it just important to get the highest bit rate you can to watchable?
So basically,
Make it as nice as you can.
for streaming in particular, the best that your internet will allow. Because again, like sites like Twitch and YouTube compress the hell out of video. If you're doing video alone, it's going to, like when you put it through a renderer, it's going to compress it there as well. Like it's a matter of making it as best quality as you can from the source, so that when you go to upload it, the compression doesn't take a huge hit on it. Now, if file size is an issue for you when it comes to rendering something out, best thing to do is render it in the best quality you can possible, and then compress it through a third-party software like Handbrake, because Handbrake does a pretty good job at keeping the quality but reducing the file size dramatically.
And Handbrake is a delightful friend.
Oh, I love Handbrake. It is my best friend. Yes.
You got one?
I was just going to say, what kind of stuff do you need in the way of specs to record?
Okay.
Ooh,
That's a tough
interesting.
one. Yeah, that's a tough one. Okay, so it depends on the games you're after. What games you playing, mate?
Things like Counter-Strike.
Okay. Basically, do you have like an NVIDIA graphics card in your computer at all? Like, do you know what graphics card you're running?
I believe it is NVIDIA.
Yeah. Do you know what model?
How many years old did?
Yeah. How many years old is your machine?
I think the computer's 2 years old.
Okay.
Should be alright.
In that case, you
You've
should
got a
have
gaming spec machine.
Yeah. As I said before, NVIDIA Shadowplay runs right off the card itself, so there's no lag at all whatsoever. As long as you can, like, I think the benchmark for video recording these days is 1080p 60 FPS.
Yep.
Like, that is the bare minimum. If anyone sees anything less than that, they're going to click off the video. So trying to establish a 60 FPS output as best you can would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
Whatever specs you need for that, go for it.
If you get really stuck, something like that can help you.
Yeah.
I started off with a pretty dodgy old like Franken-computer, which I'd put together from old parts that I had sitting around, and I couldn't really record anything at the same time that I was playing because I had a dodgy video card.
You were like the Frankenstein of computers. Then that's what you did there.
Yeah, pretty much, and it worked for.
Give me a workaround.
Yeah.
You get something else doing the job for your computer, so it's not struggling trying to do two things at once.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're quite right, and that's why I ended up getting the HD60, which is the notch up from that.
Yeah.
And that also freed me up to do other things. Like I recently got to stream my Switch because I could just plug it into that.
Yeah,
So you get options, and you also don't absolutely flog your hardware trying to record.
Yeah, do yourself a favour, don't try, like, if you've got a machine that doesn't quite meet the requirements, don't burn a hole in your carpet trying to record, and set the computer on fire.
Or record your computer catching fire with your phone. That would be great for views.
That'll look good.
Oh yeah.
Somehow edit it together so you make a seamless cut from you editing to from you filming your gameplay to the computer actually exploding. That'd make for a great video.
Yeah.
And then just make it really clickbaity and do a story time video and you're going. You've got million views right there.
It works. You guys have all seen like Rooster Teeth and Michael doing like the throw his Xbox out the window thing and go down and start hitting it with a baseball bat. Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, guys? Anything of the sort? More than happy to. Anything else?
You all good?
That puts us with 5 minutes left, so
That's all right.
Yeah.
that's all good, guys. No worries at all. We'll wrap it up here today. Thank you all for coming. If you have any other questions that you'd like to ask us outside, we're hanging around for a bit longer. More than happy to have a chat with you guys outside, see what we can do for you. So that is it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, everyone. All good.